Come. Okay. And here we are. Give me 1 second. Make sure that I am live there. Okay, we are live. Welcome to, I keep calling it one, it's like Sound and Fury for some odd reason, but, but Sound and Delivery. This is episode 6 actually, and I'm Chris Glanister. That's Joel Tepp. And we just came back from a very cool Far West event, and we had a great time, and all sorts of cool things happened. And out of it, I think going down the line, we'll have some fun things to talk about on this show. It brought up some cool ideas, questions, thoughts as we actually got to see some folks, and that'll be fun. But for today, we're going to talk about streaming.
But before we do,
yes,
I'm going to stream bomb you, and you got to look in the camera now. Come on.
Sorry, I was just checking to see if we were live. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For those of you that were not at the conference, and those of you that were at the conference will remember these comments. Chris and his crew ran the live sound at the conference, and several times on the main stages, there were performers who took time out of their set to comment and say that it was the best sound they have ever experienced in a live performance. And it's time to shine the light on you. Get your sunscreen out so you don't get burned. But Chris,
right,
you and your crew did a fabulous job, and we are so lucky to have you here guiding us through all the questions that come up as people want to learn how to make their sound in their individual situations, help bring it up to the level of what you delivered at the conference.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And I mean, ultimately, it's all about music and community. And I think that needs to be drilled into everything. I'll say one comment, and that is that it was just a brilliant place to work, believe it or not. And it was an example of what you can do in a box, because we did it in a hotel room, and it's not an easy thing to do by any stretch. But working with great musicians, and the fact that ultimately the music and the community was what's shown, and that's what we want more than anything else. So back to streaming. I want to talk about a little bit of the history of streaming, because it has a bit of history and it is not new by any stretch. I first came across it. I worked for a large advertising agency in downtown Seattle called the Domain Group, and we did a lot of religious fundraising and so forth. But on a very technical level, we were ahead of the curve a lot. Early on in the game, I came across one guy in a department that was beginning to stream audio, and this would have been 28 years ago. Stream audio to MSN. MSN at that point was a private network, much like AOL was for a long time. And so he was doing broadcasts of sermons and things like that, multiple broadcasts that were actually done on the premises there, streaming out to MSN. And I thought that was pretty cool because I'd never heard of it. And imagine, that's 28 years ago. And we were looking at, computers that didn't have anywhere near the computing power that we currently have. We were using modems, as in 56K modems. We had 128 megabyte, 128K internet connection to the building, but you had to get in via modem. So if I wanted to dial in to get to the network, for instance, I had my laptop, which had a modem built in. You connected to the phone line and you built in, which leads me kind of to the next one that happened. Not too many years later, I was on the board of KSER Radio, and now in Everett. For those of you around here, if you remember, that would be Crab Radio. What used to be Crab Radio, they became KSER, and I was on board for a while. And during that time, I got them streaming. And what we did was that I actually picked up a used receiver, FM receiver, and I went over to the facility that was doing it, that was near the facility and in well range, in range of their antennas, and dialed it up to the frequency. That audio went out to a standard old sound card in a computer using the streaming software, and off we went into the internet. That was pretty cool, I thought. And you went to their website and you clicked on the link, and that's how you got it. Not long after that, one of the reasons we did it was because at Folklife in Seattle, KSER for a lot of years ran a stage. And what they wanted to do was to stream the audio live on the radio. And and on the internet. So I thought that was pretty cool. So that was why we did that first part. A little background. This was on the Seattle Center. Back in those days, you had to have a special phone line. It was an actual copper phone line that had a lot of bandwidth, and it was a special one that you had to rent. And they put that in place. And so you took an encoder from the mixer, encodes it down to basically voltage, goes up the phone line. At the other end is at the radio station, and out it broadcasts. Now, so it's broadcasting out live. With minimal delay, broadcasting out live on air. And then at the same time, because it's doing that, it's also streaming due to what we'd originally set up. This was the cool part. I had my Windows NT laptop, and I was sitting in the front row, or the third row of this thing, plugged into a phone line, actually in the facility while this was happening. And I then went in via 56K modem to my office, which is where this happened, accessed the internet from there, and then grabbed basically a stream with headphones on in my laptop. 45 seconds to a minute later, I was hearing clear audio all the way 28 years ago. So it's been around for a while. One final one. This has to do with video. I was part of a project, again through the same company, because we had a good line of sight to do it, that was experimenting with the idea that you could broadcast audio and video across spaces. And so for the experiment that they actually did, they had basically a DVD player, or no, it was an actual file of a movie, going into their encoder, which sent which line of sight microwave, I think, to a receiver on the top of. Hey, Joel, remember the Cinerama, the one with the big screen?
Yes.
That was where it was. They had basically they closed it out, and so 3 or 4 of us sat there watching a movie in the Cinerama size, okay, streaming from Capitol Hill over the air. And that was remarkable. And again, that was like 26 years ago. That technology, that particular thing never found its way out. And I was under an NDA for a long time on that one. But you're seeing basically a lot of that work is now showing up in a lot of different things.
So, Chris,
yeah,
you're talking about things where corporations, they could rent this copper line, they could do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And along the way, over those couple of decades, going all the way back, this was evolving, and there were some big corporations doing music events, and We Are the World, and
exactly.
Live Aid, and things like that.
Yep.
But it was also being adapted for home units that everybody had access to. But if I recall correctly, that wasn't in the music world. Was where was that? Where was all this secret? Musicians came to understand that they needed to learn about this real quickly in the second week of March of 2020, when we could not access our fans. But there were millions of people using this equipment and communicating. Where was that going on?
It's all in the corporate world.
Corporate world?
Corporate world, absolutely.
What about individuals and their little personal home computer?
Rarely done individually, really. This was something that you go to a convention for, or that kind of a thing. It was beginning to happen because there were platforms out there. For instance, we'll talk about later, OBS and Vmix actually were around before the pandemic. Zoom was around before the pandemic. It was a little company that Zoom just did corporate events like this. They had a bunch of people on a screen and some older hardware to support that, but that was pretty much it. It was really isolated into the corporate world because it was not cheap to do this. and that was one of the reasons why.
On a
Um,
home basis,
yeah,
when the companies you mentioned, OBS and StreamYard and things like
hmm
that,
yeah.
I was under the impression that it was the gamers who were playing games with each other in their neighborhoods.
It was starting to happen that way, and you're absolutely right. I keep missing that part of it because I'm just not a gamer. So, but yeah, they were probably the first in the individual world to begin that, and I think, however, it was more streaming the competitions that they were running, and that's, I think, where it came from. Also, remember that they were doing some satellite work. If we look at, We Are the World and that kind of a thing, that was a satellite broadcast. And so there were remnants of it, but it was all either the big networks or big money to doing it because it just plain wasn't cheap. And
But
yeah,
today anybody can jump in. So
absolutely.
and there's so many points to cover.
Yeah,
I'd love to jump in
yeah.
and see um, who who are we talking to today? Is this for individual musicians, or is this for somebody's house concert who wants to share it with people who are on the waiting list, or is it all of those people?
It's all of those people. I think it's musicians and hosts and performers that want to get their profile out there, and
And
that's
is
really.
this on the same laptop that people take with them when they travel and watch movies? And
Yes, and we'll talk. I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the technical side of things and what it's going to actually take to do it, because that's
oh,
very
great.
important. Yeah,
Let's hear about that.
yeah. Really, the pandemic changed everything and quickly. Started with Zoom, and I knew nothing about Zoom except a conversation with an IT guy previously, and he said, "Oh yeah, we use Zoom and Teams." I hadn't, I'd forgotten about Teams, and bam, pandemic hit. Before I knew it, all this stuff was happening. I realized early on that if I did not learn this stuff, I was screwed. And to be clear, my best years financially were actually during the pandemic. Because I did so much of it. I did auctions. I advised. Events, and I did a ton. I basically sat in my office here and ran stuff, and it was great. But moving forward, a piece of philosophy, what I learned in that is that I believe very strongly that streaming for a musician or a host, it basically for an entertainer or those who host entertainers, is important because you can monetize it. There are so many things that can be done with it to create, one, good sound and a good performance with sound. And nowadays, it just simply isn't that hard. And we will get into the equipment because it's important to do that. Early on after the pandemic, my band, the Whatever Brothers, consistently streamed performances as we did them. And we raised money doing that early on. We still do a show called The Fortnight of Doom, which happens once a month. And we've been doing it for 6 years now, since the pandemic. And it proves popular. It's a simple enough show, much like this. And I know of other folks that do broadcasts, have been started streaming in their living rooms and in their studios and so forth, and they're now keep doing it because of that. And it has a lot to do with the fact that it was easy to do it on platforms such as Facebook and YouTube. And enough can't be said about how important Facebook and YouTube really were to provide a platform. And they knew it. They knew it and made it obvious, made it possible to do. There was a change in how Facebook specifically started to do things such that you could do that. And YouTube was always there anyway, but they made it very easy to do, and that's very important down the line.
What are the basic things that you need in order to get set up?
Okay, first of all, you need a camera, and you can do it a couple of different ways, but we'll talk simple. Okay, the simplest thing you can do is simply a camera on your laptop or on your device, and that could be your phone. It could be anything. It could be on your phone. It could be on a laptop. It could be a camera attached to a laptop. It could be a webcam attached to a laptop in its very simple form. You have to have some software to do the streaming and obviously an internet or network connection of some kind. Starting with some of the obvious, and this is my favorite little guy in the whole world. This is a Zoom. In fact, because Zoom is not happy with my mixer, I'm actually using one of these as my microphone right now. And it's attached via USB as a webcam. And this is the Q2N 4K made by Zoom with the standard classic Zoom stereo microphone in it.
This is a different Zoom than Zoom the software. This is
absolutely.
a whole different company.
Thank you for that. Yes, this is Zoom the microphone maker.
Recorders and cameras and camera recorder combinations and pedals for your guitar.
Exactly, and this has got 2 USBs on the side. It has HDMI and USB, so you can run it as an HDMI camera or a USB webcam. It'll do either. And when it's in webcam form, it powers it. Otherwise, you have to power it. It actually has a slot for a card, so you can put a lot of video on here. It has everything is fixed, so all the focus is fixed and everything else. But it is I have 2 of them. When I do a show, not streaming, I have a little I actually have 2 of them. One facing the audience, one facing the group, and I just put cards in them and hit record. They run on batteries, and you can power them as well, either way. And that way, I've actually got 2 cameras for when I want to come down and edit that show for later. It's lovely. And that you can throw these in anywhere. It goes on a camera stand, stick it in front of you, that going into a computer of some kind is what I typically will use if I'm doing a show. Now, you can also, and I want to refer back to all of the stuff that we did about Zoom for musicians, because all that setup will work. All you have to have is a computer that does the streaming attached to it. You already attach it to a computer, and in a lot of ways, when you're on a Zoom session like this, you are streaming. Streaming is a very loose term at this point. So consider this with a reasonably well-powered laptop and a hardwired connection. Although I've done it on Wi-Fi, but you've got to be careful. And you've now got yourself a streaming setup that looks good and sounds good.
Can I elaborate on that for just a moment?
Yeah.
When you talk about hardwired, you mean going with a cable, a copper cable going from your router and plugging into your computer.
Correct.
Rather than going through the air.
Yes.
When we sound check people for Campfire, there are a lot of people whose video will start to flutter and fail, but the audio can make it through because the video has so much information and there isn't enough, there isn't a strong enough connection. And in many of those cases, if it doesn't disrupt family harmony in the household, what you are broadcasting is going to be much more effective if you can use a hardwired Ethernet cable rather than using Wi-Fi. If you have the ability to use it, it gives you a stronger signal, a more reliable signal, and a better quality sound and video. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes. The other ones are your phone, of course. I have an Android here. As a great program called Streamyard, and I've streamed with this. And what's cool about this is that I have, for instance, the unlimited data plan with my provider. So I have high data all the time. And for this reason, I can use it as a hotspot, but more importantly, I can stream from this. And the camera is good. And if it's a more modern one, especially an iPhone, the microphone is going to be pretty darn good. And so you could do a whole thing with a phone holder that keeps it straight, and off you go. Streamyard is a very effective piece of an app on here, and it allows you to stream to pretty much anywhere. I highly recommend it for that reason, and it's that simple. What you can also do, and Joel showed me one of those things, you can attach. Oh, darn! I didn't bring it. There's a little bit of hardware that plugs into the USB-C that basically comes out as an XLR input. So you can actually attach a microphone or a mixer to this. And I can't remember what it was, and I forgot to bring it. But I actually did that at one particular time. I had a mixer with some microphones and things plugged into my phone, and it gives great sound. I'm going to remind people of something we talked about in our earlier discussions. Yes.
And that is, as you mentioned, the quality of the camera is good enough. and the quality of the microphone is good enough to get a basic
Yes.
representation of your performance
Right.
and put it
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
There is a tremendous advantage to having at least one of those two components, video or audio, coming from a different source.
Yes.
When I'm
Absolutely.
sound checking, one of the most frequent problems is that whether it's in your screen on a laptop or if it's in a webcam like this where you have the camera right here, but you also have microphones on either side.
Yeah.
The camera and the microphones are located in exactly the same place.
Yeah.
When you can separate the two of those out, and the easiest one to separate out is in many ways the audio. You can have the audio coming from a different source. Then, if you are playing guitar here, and you're coming from one source. We've all been to those Zoom performances where somebody comes on, and even if they've got original sound adjusted correctly and are using all of the tricks that you can get out of a basic program like Zoom, the guitar is down here, the microphone is up here, and it's not picking up the guitar.
Yeah.
When you separate them, the video is coming from your camera right there, and the audio can be coming from another place. And I can place this microphone and I can mix, even though there's a mixer attached, I can with just a simple plug-in mic, I can vary the mix by changing the position of the microphone, and I can get the right blend of guitar and voice.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can make something happen doesn't mean that you should just stop there and not look at the possibility of expanding what you can do.
Yeah, I actually found the unit I was talking about. It's called the iRig, as in IR. The iRig Stream Audio Interface. It's made by IK Multimedia, and you can find it at most places. And it's basically it's a little unit that allows you to basically to hook a quarter-inch or whatever into your phone as an audio interface. And so that does give you an advantage if you've got a space issues, and you can plug your little mixer in and do whatever you need to do. But it's an easy way to do it. I've done, but the fact that you can use StreamYard, pull out your phone, fire it up, and make it go is really attractive for that reason.
We have had a number of programs where we talked about these factors in detail, different kinds of microphones, different kinds of cameras. What I'm really excited to hear about from you are, what are these other software programs? We've all got Zoom, but what's OBS? What is, we know what BS is, but OBS is, other than if you're a bluegrass musician and you see that on the set list, that means Orange Blossom Special, and that's what you're doing for the next 20 minutes. However, are you ready to start talking about what these other forms of streaming interfaces can do that can expand the possibilities or solve problems for you?
Yeah, let's start with one that most people know about, and that would be OBS. OBS is free, and it kind of took. It really became something. It's during the pandemic. The other one that is likewise equivalent to that is a paid version called Vmix. I use Vmix. And our last show, the one that you weren't on, was actually done via Vmix. And it is, both of them are broadcast software. It takes any number of interfaces. So as a piece of software, you can bring in video, you can bring in audio, you can bring in a mixer, you can bring in a camera, and much like broadcast software, you can basically you can slide that in, bring it out. You can do what they call stingers. You can put stuff underneath it, so you can create a broadcast environment with those two pieces of software.
If you have three cameras, can you have two cameras going at the same time, or are you able to switch very quickly?
You switch, basically, yeah. Now, the best way to do it with that software is actually to have an external switcher. They don't. You have to have a very, very powerful computer to handle that. Because what I typically use is that I've got a little external switcher that takes my three cameras in, and that goes into Vmix, which is what I use. And
am I correct that your switcher can be a foot pedal that has a,
No, it's actually a little broadcast switcher, and by Blackmagic actually
ah,
is the vendor.
so
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I see Black Magic come up in a lot of
Oh
they
yes,
make video cards, so you can take
yes.
your Canon
Yep,
digital camera and use that
yep.
as your camera. So
Yeah.
is Black Magic one of the names that people might want to research and see
Yes,
what
and there's
kinds of things?
another good reason. One of the things that had to happen was the fact that so you've got this stuff. I'll come back to that. I want to finish talking about the software first. Streamyard we already talked about. The other one is called Wirecast, which I don't know too much about, but it does a lot of the similar things. And then the other last version is Vimeo. Vimeo is useful in that Vimeo is kind of its own enclosed environment. Vimeo is a somewhat expensive but paid subscription that allows you to create videos. It's basically YouTube without advertising, and you can put videos up. But in its later software, it includes streaming software, and it does it within its own environment. I've used it, and it's really kind of nice.
Is this software just a switching station,
No,
or can you do editing inside of it?
no, and that's what I'm getting to.
Oh, great, great. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So the fact of the matter is that you do this stuff, and let's say you've got a video that you want to bring in and show on your stream, for instance. Well, guess what? You have to edit it. And one of the things that showed up is it showed up how badly editing software worked for most people. Yeah, because we couldn't afford Pro Tools, or I mean not Pro Tools, all of the Adobe, all of the expensive software except for one, and it took me a while to find it, but boy do I regret it. And that is DaVinci Resolve, made by Blackmagic. I can't tell you enough of how important it is to know that. They make the software for free, and it's full featured. It'll do pretty much anything you want. It won't do 4K, but it'll do pretty much everything else underneath it. And I've been using it since the pandemic, and I use it frequently and all the time. You need to have a good video editor when you're doing this kind of a thing. If nothing else, to take the recording that you've done, make it happen, download it and put it back up or whichever. Having a good video editor is terribly important when you're doing this kind of thing.
Is that where you get titles from that
Yes,
you put on
exactly.
afterwards and all of
Yes,
that?
exactly. You can put intros and exits on it. You can take this show and we put some music in front of it and all that kind of a thing.
You can thank your mother for all the funding.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And so you can pretty it up, or in a lot of cases what I'm doing is if I'm doing a streaming event for somebody, especially during the pandemic, I would be doing an online, let's say I'm doing an online festival, for instance, okay? So I'm getting all of this video from all of these musicians, and I have to then, using Vmix or OBS, and I use Vmix, and we're going to basically bring that in, and we're going to go live with this particular musician, and then I'm going to go live with the next musician, because I'm streaming live, but I'm using this and I'm bringing these videos in, and I bring them onto the broadcast software. It plays, then I bring in the next one, but they have to be formatted well. The reality is that we get a whole bunch of videos that are all over the place. Sometimes I have to do color correction. Sometimes I've just simply got to make it, the audio sucks, so I've got to deal with that. All of those things, but it takes a good editor and good audio editing software as well, which is the other piece that you must have to create good formats. And they come in different formats, sometimes off of a phone, all this kind of stuff. I did a lot of work for several festivals. The biggest one will be the Tumbleweed Music Festival, and we very successfully put out 3 virtual festivals. And we had 10 stages, over 100 musicians on those stages, and they were all videos that we brought in. Plus, we did an actual live event for the Saturday night concert. We actually recorded it live in the park carefully, and then we broadcast that live at that particular time on the website. And to do that, it takes an awful lot of time to format and edit everything to make it work. And audio is important in all of this. So having a good audio editing software, all the way down to free, and we will talk some ones out here in just a moment. But having that backup stuff is important. On all of the production laptops I have that I take out, all of this stuff is there. I have all of that stuff on my laptop. So if I'm out somewhere, I'm at an event and somebody at the very last minute gives me a video and it sucks, I can dump it into Resolve, do something quick with it, and then be ready to go with it, which I have done many times.
So,
Yeah.
if I have experience using Zoom, and I've got a setup that is doing pretty well. I go to some songwriter song circles and a couple little performances.
Yes.
What are the things that this software is going to do for me that brings me to where I'm presentable in a whole different arena, or my show improves? It's less of a neighborhood jam, and it's more of a putting on a viable, competitive looking show, and something that people might come back and view a number of times. What are the things that this software can do that you can't do in Zoom? And what kind of a learning curve is there? How should people prepare themselves to figure it out?
It's a bit of a learning curve for both, but assume that I'm using the term broadcast software, having spent some time in broadcast, but it has the ability to take multiple inputs. That could be videos, it could be your your camera and your audio, such as the audio I'm doing right now. It could be a PowerPoint presentation. All of those things, different media inputs, including Zoom. You then basically have them sitting out there, and it has a virtual lever that you go zoop, and it actually fades it into your broadcast stream as to what you're actually streaming out. So you can preview it, go, run it, preview it, go. Besides that, to make it look cool, you can do what's called a stinger. That means that's the little bit below that will come out and say, hey, this is Joel Tett performing so and such. You can do a thing like you can put the Fire West logo in the bottom right hand corner so that it says this is a Fire West show. You can bring in, if you're doing something instruction wise, you can bring in whatever media you want to show, like it could be just nothing more than a shot of a page of something. You can bring that in as a graphic. Also, you can start things and you can fade to black. You can fade in nicely. It gives you an extremely professional look, and it's again, OBS works well, Vmix works well. Vmix is not terribly expensive for the kind of thing that you would do, but OBS is free. As far as a learning curve, YouTube is a great place to learn it. They have tons and tons of information out there that allow you to basically, that allow you to learn this stuff, and it's good stuff. So
if I'm a teacher, and I'm teaching folk styles, and I'm teaching somebody how to play Freight Train,
right,
and I can demonstrate it on the screen, and I can see them coming in, and then I could just flip a button, and the screen would show a video of Elizabeth Cotten actually playing it the way that people learned from, and I could blend those things in instantly just by touching a button or moving it around in a teaching situation.
Yes, exactly.
And if I am performing, and I have an accompanist who's going to join me on two songs, I can add them in with a flip of a button.
Yes.
Which I can't do with Zoom because I have just It asks you which microphone or which input are you using, and you want to say all of these, and when I tell you, that's where you have to come to a program like this.
Yes, and you could do window and window, for instance, so you could have another window in the corner, so you could start with, say, Joel talking and put me in a window, and then switch that, so that you could split the screen, so we're both on the same screen at the same time. There's any number of things that you can do. Vmix does that well, and so does OBS. The learning curve is a little harder on OBS because it's a little bit more obscure, but it's got lots of mileage under it now. And for a home broadcast such as this, let's say you're at a static place, it's a great thing to have because you can create a very professional looking broadcast in your own studio, going out, making sure that you have, if you've got a good network connection. My friend Deb Seymour does that on a Sunday. She's been doing it for as long as I have, and she does a great job of it, basically streaming out. And I've seen her little studio. It's great, and it's really good looking. One other artist I want to recommend, believe it or not, William Pint and Felicia Dale. They are maritime musicians. Very, very good. They embraced OBS and did some amazing things streaming. If you go to their website, and they'll send you to go to their YouTube channel, which you'll have to find it because I don't have it in front of me. They did some amazing broadcasts they had a green screen and did all sorts of very cool stuff. They even did a simulcast with two friends in Alaska simultaneously on going out onto YouTube. Amazing stuff. They, of all the people I know, really mastered the art of musicians pulling out. And that brings it to the next point. They monetized it. And that's the other piece of this, is that one of the reasons I feel somewhat passionate about this is that you can make money on this. And you could do a simple thing like, let's say you're on tour. You could have a select group of folks, and you could do a broadcast, let's say from your hotel room, to a select group of people, and with some stuff that they'll never hear on your regular show. Those kinds of things.
Oh, this is very interesting. So
Yeah.
I get that. I'm a performer. I get that lucky break, and I'm gonna be the opening act for our treasured Ms. Fabulous, whoever that
Yes.
might be.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if that person is willing,
Mm-hmm.
I could have my fans come to Patreon and pay for
Yeah.
the special ticket, and
Yeah.
then when I'm in the dressing room jamming for a song or two with Ms.
Yeah.
Fabulous,
Yeah.
I can share that with my fans by using this kind of software.
Exactly, and that's the thing. And we should actually talk about Patreon if we don't know about it, which I'll have you do in a moment. But those are the pieces. Bandcamp and some other sites will allow you to basically stream on their site for free. But they have a means to sell tickets. And also, so there are a couple of sites out there, including Bandcamp, which I actually highly recommend, that allow you to basically create a concert. They'll do the advertising, the graphics, and everything. So you create a virtual concert out of it. There's 2 or 3 others out there. And the other piece of it, so you have the means to do something special or to just plain monetize it using a tip jar, a virtual tip jar that goes along with what you're doing. You can send them to a website as you're talking about it. If you're using OBS, you can, or Vmix, you can put that site right underneath you as you're talking, and then it gives you then the ability to be a very professional package.
When you use Bandcamp,
Yeah.
do they have standards? How do you connect into them to broadcast through there?
They will give you, yeah. So how you connect, let's go into a little bit of the technical part because it's important. There are 3 ways, which there basically are 3 keys that you use to stream. One is a URL, that is this what they call the streaming URL. And that would be something that is put out by the streamer, by the streamee, if you will. It could be YouTube or some other function. And let's get this. So Bandcamp will say you need to. Let's say you've got Vmix again. When I go to streaming, I'm going to Vmix allows you actually to log in to Bandcamp and pull those things through, but you can do it manually. You put in a streaming URL, you put in a streaming key, which is a key that says I'm going here, and then you also put another backup URL in there. So 3 pieces. With that information, you click go, and it will go straight to whatever site that you're going to. Could be at YouTube or Bandcamp. So so all of those sites will give you that information for you to put into your software. That makes sense?
It makes sense.
That's exactly what I did for this particular broadcast. Although it has that information in this particular case, it knows YouTube. I already logged into our YouTube channel through within Zoom, so Zoom knows where it's going. And now it's the same with Facebook. and or YouTube. Again, they give you that information.
Does this software, whether it's OBS or StreamYard or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
does that give you the ability to go to multiple multiple platforms at the same time? Is that how you can do something at home and then you can come to see it? Like right now, I think if you want to ask questions directly, you have to be in our room. If you're
Right.
watching it on YouTube, you can do
Yeah.
something else.
Right.
Is that how? Is that the switching station that gets you
No.
going to different
No.
places?
No, you laid that one up perfectly. So no, I use web-based software to do that, and there's multiple ones out there. My favorite is ReStream, and it's a subscription software. And you can go to ReStream.io. It's great. My plan allows me to stream up to 5 different sites simultaneously. And so again, I have to do 2 things. Within ReStream, I set up the streaming to my different platforms. Let's say it's YouTube and Facebook and Bandcamp. Okay, so there are 3 sections that I go through, and I can edit those titles, and they're set to go. Then once that's done, ReStream then tells me what I have to put into my Vmix or OBS software. So Vmix or OBS streams to ReStream, and that automatically sends it out to those other sites. And so that now, and again, it is not expensive. And it gives you the ability to say, oh, I'm going to go to YouTube and Facebook. And because some people like Facebook, some people like YouTube, and sometimes never the twain shall meet. I'm actually in the fortnight of doom looking to go to Bandcamp because it gives me a neutral platform as well. Because it's free, and secondly, there are people that don't like either of them, and so it's getting more audience for that reason. But yes, it is important that you have the ability to stream out to other places as well. And there's multiple other ones out there, but ReStream is my fave at this point, and it's dead easy to use. And again, it gives you a set of tools that make you look great in the process. Yes. Oh, somebody has a question. Oh, repeat the name of the XLR connector. That is the iRig. iRig, I think is what you were talking about, that goes into a phone. So I'm looking actually at a conversation here that Deb and Barbara are talking. They've got some feedback going, and they're giving us some questions. So yeah, that gives you a package right there. You've got the ability to, let's say, one more piece that I do want to talk about, and I'll get to that in a moment. But you're sitting in your hotel room. You're going to do a special concert in your hotel room. You've set up a nice little studio in there, and you fire up this guy and to your laptop, and you've decided that you're going to do a concert to Bandcamp, but you're going to stream it to Facebook as well. And that way it gives you, that allows you to stream, and it looks great. You've got yourself something professional you can potentially monetize. The final piece of all of this is the hardware, the computer hardware. Nowadays, you really do need something with some horsepower, if you will. I have a Dell laptop that has 32 gigs of RAM and a nice NVIDIA card built into it, and a fast hard drive with a lot of space on it, and that is my streaming platform when I'm traveling. But it gives me the ability to really, you get away with less, but the reality is the more horsepower you can afford, the more get it. Same, get yourself a decent Mac if that's your flavor. But the best money you can pretty much buy is really important for if you're using a laptop for something like that. It applies with your machine at home, be it a desktop or something like that. It needs to have some amount of horsepower, primarily a good video card and lots of memory. Those are the 2 things that count, and also a fast hard drive. You know, using a solid state hard drive is important for these kinds of things. So that, I think, is probably most of what we're going to talk about for now, I think.
if you want to practice, where do you go to practice? Where do you go to learn about these things or try them out? I think Sweetwater and B&H Photo have become
Yes, they've become
go-to.
great for that kind of a thing. Yes. You can. It's hard to. The problem is, it's hard to get stuff that you can borrow to do this. To a great extent, if you've got a friend that has something, then have them lend it to you. One thing you can do is, first thing I would do is use a YouTube channel. Be aware that when you fire up a new YouTube channel, they have a rule that basically you cannot stream for 24 hours once you've opened it up. So you can't do it right away. So there's a 24-hour waiting period, full 24-hour waiting period, before you can then stream to that YouTube channel. What you then do, let's say you need to practice it, within YouTube and most of the other places, you can stream to private, unlisted, or public. What you want is stream to unlisted. Then have yourself a secondary machine that allows you to see what you're doing, and now you can see what is being streaming. It's on YouTube, but no one can see it.
That sounds like a great idea.
And not only that, think about this. For a very simple way to do a concert, and you're selling tickets or you're doing something like that, consider doing that show to YouTube, but do it unlisted, and then you give people that URL, that streaming URL, in an email or however you want to send it to when you're ready to do it. So you've now got the equivalent of selling tickets for nothing fancy. Or that way you can distribute out what you want to whom you want. And again, it's YouTube. It's dead simple to use. The other cool thing is that YouTube, like this, will archive your program, and you can go back and say, hey, this is there. One thing is that with any kind of streaming, one thing I noticed time and time again from the beginning is that you really hope that you're going to get the big audience right off the bat. That really doesn't happen. What happens is people go, I'll just kind of wait for that. And I'm gonna wait. And so spend some time looking at the numbers, because they will increase sometimes exponentially, because a lot of people will go back and watch it and see it. So without fail, you can expect that your numbers will begin at whatever they do, but people realize that they don't have to watch it live, and they get lazy, and they just can't do it because they're unable to be there, or they're in a different time zone. Then they can go back and watch it for free.
I think Dan Navarro does a wonderful job blending those two things. He gets a lot of repeat views, but if you're there to watch it live, he has specific shows where people request songs, and he will match those requests. Well, you can't request anything if you're looking at the video later on, so he's able to drive the interest. It becomes a lot of fun, and it's one of many techniques that you can gradually develop.
Yes, and much like folks, YouTube allows you to subscribe to the channel, which we would dearly love you to do for this particular channel. And the more subscriptions you get, that means people are going to pay attention. They're going to come back, and it does you a lot of good in the long run on a YouTube channel. I think for the most part, I think that's probably a good start, I think.
Well, how about if you give a little commercial for Far West while I prepare my microphone of the day selection?
Right, so we are to that point.
We can move to you.
Yes, indeed.
Looks like it. Oh my gosh. Okay, I have just come up with another tip. Learn from my experience. Don't do what I just did. If you have a small piece of chocolate that you didn't finish before you start a broadcast because you did not want to have black teeth or dark brown teeth, do not put that piece of chocolate on top of your Mac Mini, because the temperature is about 110 degrees. So I have a chocolate cleanup on Mac Mini after we finish the broadcast.
I gotta say, I have not heard that one before.
I'm always here to explore uncharted territory.
Well, let's talk about Far West. I'm a big fan of Far West. I've worked with them for years, and I've had the privilege and have the privilege of doing a lot of sound for them. But it's an entirely a volunteer-run organization, and it takes an enormous amount of work to do what they do. One of the things that we're hoping to do as we move into this is to increase our online activity. Much other programs such as this. Joel gave a great speech at the last one that we just had just down in the Vancouver, Washington Hilton at the end about talking about making sure that this is really community and this is not how the record business does what they do. And what we're trying to do here is to create community for musicians and something that's valuable for musicians to take away with them doing what they do. And that means volunteers and people with skills to do what they do. I'm committed to doing mentoring for this kind of a thing because I've been doing this for almost 50 years, which is a scary thing to think about. And I'm concerned that I'm one of the few people left in my profession that there aren't many left who have been through the whole audio revolution, starting with audio tape and the Ampex 350 tube recorder all the way to what we have now and everything in between. I was there for the whole thing. And it's been a remarkable journey, but I am concerned that I want that to be out there. I want people to know what I know at this point. And this is, I think, a great platform for it. Great folks like Barbara Denz and Deb Ewing, who are our solid backbone of this show. Thank you both for doing this. I think it's important that a platform such as Far West and Folk Alliance have a platform already there to be able to use and to use for the good of musicians and community out there, which is really what we care about at this point. So,
I'm going to build on that a little bit.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the two people that are helping us.
Yes.
One of them is on the East Coast right now.
Yes.
The other one is on Vancouver Island in
Campbell River.
Campbell River.
Yeah.
And these are people who never would have met without Far West, and they're finding a lot of joy and collaboration.
Yeah.
And we all came to the conference to meet each other in person and do the things that are best done in person and get the dialogues going and have that kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And one other thing I'd like to add is many parts of the music world and of the entire planet that we're a part of were tremendously disrupted during the pandemic. And it's been a learning process to come back and figure out where to go. And Far West went through a learning curve. And in the past year, as new people have come in and other people have studied past history and shared what they know, I would like to say that this board is one of the most devoted and effective boards I've seen out there working to bring the feeling back. You can always get people to come if the feeling is right, and you aren't going to get the numbers. So people who are focused on the numbers, focus on the feeling, and kudos to all of the people who took, there was a running joke at the conference that many people should have had a badge on their conference name tag that says, "I really shouldn't be doing this." Because, whether you're the president, the treasurer, or somebody that was learning all of these skills because it was needed, because everybody cared about preserving the community. And I want to give a big thank you to all the volunteers, whether they're board members or not, for what was accomplished this year. And you were a big part of it.
Yeah.
So to everybody out there, sometime in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we'll start putting out a schedule. And part of that will be specialized classes where Chris will be mentoring some of the people who will become the engineers and the technical assistants of tomorrow in the folk community. And Chris, thank you so much for volunteering to do that.
Because go ahead. Sorry.
I have brought some old friends of yours,
yes.
Not the literal friends, but friends that you made at the conference. We had two fabulous sponsors.
Yes.
They were Audix microphones and ear trumpet microphones. They were not in competition with each other at all. They both do what they do extremely well. Together, they make a complement of microphones that are
Yes.
mics that are well worth using.
Yeah.
And I believe that you had a tremendous experience with two microphones that look like they're really different, but they
Yes.
provide the same service, and they were part of the
Yeah.
success
Yeah.
in that great sound people were hearing.
Yes, indeed.
And starting with
Ah,
the little
yes.
Audix SCX25.
Ah, yes.
Its
I
nickname
want
is
one.
the Lollipop.
Yes.
You can see why.
Yeah.
And when you have two of them and you use them in a pair, if you go into probably all the top recording studios across the country, chances are that the two microphones on the bass and treble side of the piano are these mics. And because they are so successful there, that's what they're known for.
Yeah.
But we learned at the conference that this little mic has the ability to pick up a whole group standing in front of it at different distances and
Yeah.
become a central mic
Yeah.
for everybody to use. And it has a very pure, clean sound.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And there is another mic that many folk musicians and roots musicians know very well that serves the same function, and that is the ear trumpet. This is Myrtle. They make different models.
Yeah.
But when you take a closer look, you'll see how much they are the same mic. Take a look at the microphone
Yeah.
element here, and the
Yeah.
capsule is inside, and look at how much the size of the Audix is the same thing. Everything else is just this is this is Billie Eilish and this is Chapel Roan, but it's a great voice at the core of it all.
Absolutely, and you know, I had Lauren Sheehan doing with a steel guitar, not a steel guitar,
A resonator guitar.
resonator. Thank you, resonator guitar, with the ear trumpet, and it sounded fabulous. And then I had a duo, singing together with a direct guitar, just bringing the guitar in a little bit with the other one. And you should know, but that was the first time I'd ever used that microphone. I basically, I just said, hey, let's use this, because I'd been given it, and I fired it up, EQ'd it out, and we were all basically simultaneously blown away by how gorgeous that microphone is. So yeah, it's a different character, and they work differently. But kudos to both manufacturers for creating some great stuff. I got the privilege of playing with a lot of Audix's stuff, and that was fun. So yeah, yeah.
Do you have a microphone for it?
I do, and I'm going all the way back to this guy. Here we go.
Wait, aren't you going to comb your hair back and get the pelvis thing going?
Yeah, now this is unique. I actually have, this is my fourth version of this, and this is, people know this as the SM55. This is the PE55, which is a slightly lesser version of this. I found this at a client's place. They were going to throw it out. This one actually works, and it's the real goodness, the real capsule that came with it. This is the cable that comes with it, and you'll notice that it's pre-XLR. It's simply just comes in like this. But it really is an SM55. Shure built several of these. One was the SM55, and then they had a studio version of it, about yay big, which I have, and I'll bring that out at some other time, which is again, but Shure would actually make these, and I have two other SM55s that had different manufacturers' name on it, so they allowed people to label it differently as well. This one does work. It doesn't sound that great. There are newer versions of this, which I am frankly not a fan of. There's reasons why they don't work, but that well. But they look cool. But this is the genuine article. It came in its original box, and with the original packing and everything, they just shoved it in a corner, which I was very happy to. So yeah. So here we go. This is the classic SM55. I did a cool show one time years ago for a Sweat Out of Lines show. I had two of these on I was doing a barbershop quartet, and it was a 50s theme show. It was at the Port Angeles High School Auditorium. And I brought two of my mics out. I had the cables for them, and they were sitting on a couple of the vintage Atlas stands that you would use. And they came down, and the cables went to nowhere. They didn't work. But what I didn't do was I did not tell the performers that they didn't work. Instead, I had two shotgun microphones below the stage, aiming up to create what I call a pool of sound, which is what you want for barbershop. And that's how I got the sound. Because they thought it was the right microphone, they played to the microphone, which was great. I got everything I needed to. I told them afterwards, which got them surprised because it sounded fabulous. But again, you can have some fun with these. I often rent these out to theaters and things like that because they're cool and they can be used for a lot of stuff. So yeah, that was our yes, indeed. So yeah, that's mine. So that's the PE 55. But very cool. I need to put an XLR on this and use it. So yeah, yeah. So I think that's probably good for today. I think as and what am I noticing? Yes. We did say, actually, Joel. Oh, for Joel, Everett Moran, number 3. Undoubtedly, Steve Young thanks you, Joel. Joel.
Oh,
yeah. I'm looking at our text stream here. So,
well,
yes.
I'm going to build on that. There are several Steve Youngs, but I know which one we're talking about now. So I'm going to add a little bit about what Audix did in going the extra mile.
Yes.
Audix set up a room which was it was a workshop room, just a typical box, as you called them, in the hotel.
Yep.
And they set it up as a recording studio.
Yes.
And it was open for various conference attendees to come in and record one song with these great mics and the remote things that they brought with them to have a souvenir to take home, and obviously to learn about the attributes of Audix microphones.
Mm-hmm.
They were very supportive of everything that we were doing.
Yes.
Steve is a songwriter and a performer, and joined in on the musical side. And we had a tremendous time
Yes.
with Audix because of the quality of what they have and their desire to jump in and be a part of the community. And we would look forward to having many more times together with Audix and to share our good experience with other musicians about the microphones that we found to be the ones for folk musicians to use and solve their problems. So a big thank you
Indeed,
to
yes.
Steve and his whole crew. It was a wonderful experience.
It was great. And again, also, just because I want to give equal time, thanks to the air trumpet folks as well. They gave us a couple of Louises, actually, is what we used. And I got to visit their factory and talk to them, and it was great. And they'll do it again. They're is pleased to have them on board. And it was a great way, because for my purposes, I was able to put a microphone on stage, set it up correctly, and then I just simply was able to bring it out instead of somebody bringing a microphone on each time, which we frankly didn't have time for. So having that ability was brilliant, and having that is a great help to us. It just makes the whole thing better. So yeah, it was a good thing, and hopefully maybe one of these days we might just have Audix on and just talk about their stuff. You never know.
Looks like it would be wonderful to have both companies are engineering based and musician focused, and we're very proud to be associated with both of them.
So there we have. Okay, well, I think that's good for us today. So Joel, thanks, and Deb and Barbara, thank you very much for hanging with us, and we will see you next time.